Hello, I'm the Video Professor, and you are about to learn software by means of a creative new concept in the computer industry. I'll take you step by step through learning your new software package. On the screen now are some other tapes available in my series. With them, you can watch and learn at your own speed. Stop and practice anytime you want, and review topics you don't understand. I suggest that you view each tape in its entirety. Then go back through the lesson with your computer and your software and practice each step. All of my tapes are designed to get you up and running quickly. Once you have viewed and practiced everything that is on these tapes, I think you'll find your software manual much easier to understand. And now, let's get started. Welcome to my introductory tape on WordPerfect, one of the most powerful and popular word processing programs available today. But before we start, I'd like to introduce you to Pam, our student helper for the day, and she will help us through today's lesson. WordPerfect is just one example of a highly sophisticated and flexible computing tool which brings the power of modern PCs within easy reach of the average person. After this short lesson, and with a little practice, you should be able to create letter-perfect documents without the waste of time, duplication of effort, and general frustration that our old friend the typewriter often creates. Now, there are a few very important rules we should follow before we get started. First, be sure to copy the original program disk onto your own working disk before proceeding. While you can't hurt your computer by playing around with the keyboard, your software is another matter altogether. If there is a mistaken erasure or an unexpected loss of disk memory, you can always make a new copy if the original is still available. Disk copying is covered in my tape, Learning DOS. Second, you should consider the number and the nature of your documents when planning a data disk system for filing them. Just like the drawers in a file cabinet, your disks need to have some rhyme or reason to their contents, or even the most perfectly prepared documents may become lost in a hodgepodge of files. Correspondence may belong on one disk, reports on another, and memoranda on a third. The system should be one of your own choosing, but the logic behind that system should not prove a mystery to you 1 or 2 years down the road. Third, always back up your data disk on a regular basis. Protection for your data disks may be even more important than for the original program disks because nobody else can possibly replace them. All right, let's get started. By now, you should have your WordPerfect software copied onto working disks and labeled just as the originals are: WordPerfect, Speller, Thesaurus, Printer 1, Printer 2, and Learning. We will be using only 3 of these disks in this lesson: WordPerfect, Speller, and Printer. With these 3 disks, you can begin to discover the many advantages of word processing. I can't show you everything in this lesson, but you will get off to a good start. First are a few words to those of you with hard disk systems. Your program disk should be copied directly onto the hard disk. With DOS running, make a subdirectory for WordPerfect by entering md\wp. Change to that subdirectory by entering cd\wp. Now, place the WordPerfect program disk in your drive A and enter the command copy A:* and C in some cases. All files located in drive A will be copied into the WP subdirectory. When copying is complete, replace the program disk with the Speller disk and enter the same copy command. Repeat with the Printer 1 disk. Ultimately, you'll want to copy at least some files from the other disk, but these first 3 will get your word processor up and running. During the lesson, remember that your hard drive will make all program files available without any program disk, and your 1 floppy disk drive will always be available for a separate data disk. Be sure that the keyboard template which came in your software package is positioned over the function keys. I will identify keys simply by their WordPerfect template names, so familiarize yourself with the arrangement. The same function key may be used for 4 different functions, depending on whether or not it is pushed together with the alternate, shift, or control keys. The quick reference guide in your package will also help you to locate new key locations. One helpful key to know is the cancel key. If you push something by mistake and do not understand what is happening on the screen, push the cancel key, and you should find yourself right back where you were before making the mistake. With the computer switched on, DOS booted, and the familiar A prompt cursor on the screen, the WordPerfect disk should be placed in Drive A. To simplify future startups, you can copy DOS directly onto your program disk so that it boots automatically when you insert your WordPerfect disk. On a 2-drive system, place an empty formatted disk into Drive B for storing your documents and enter B: to change the default drive. This tells the computer to store all saved files on the disk in Drive B and changes the DOS prompt to the letter B prompt. Finally, enter A:WP and WordPerfect will be loaded. The first time you do this, WordPerfect will offer a polite welcome and a few brief reminders about the program. Once you have properly introduced your computer and printer to the program, this formality will be dropped and you will be directly confronted with a blank screen. For now, simply hit any key to clear the screen and enter the program. The empty screen is our blank piece of paper. The only thing which appears on a blank screen in WordPerfect is information in the lower right corner which identifies the exact location of the cursor within the document. Doc 1 shows we are working on document number 1. It is possible to work on 2 documents at once, but we won't go into that now. Page 1 shows we are on our first page of text. Line 1 shows we are located on the first line of text on the page. Normally this will change to line 2 after you have typed in more than 64 characters. You will find that if you type without hitting the return key, words will not run off the side of the page, but will position themselves as necessary at the beginning of the next line. This is called word wrap. Let's show you an example. The program is automatically keeping your text within the margins of the paper. Position 10 indicates that the cursor is starting 10 character spaces in from the edge of the page. This number increases by 1 every time we enter a character. The cursor location information helps us to know our position in any document at all times and to control many of the program's functions. It is provided only for our on-screen assistance and will not appear anywhere on printed documents. Now we have loaded the program and are prepared to create and save documents. WordPerfect has preset margins, tabs, and spacings which will automatically format your first documents. Once you are more familiar with the program, you can change these settings to suit your own needs. The most obvious advantage over typing is that mistakes can easily be corrected by backspacing. Let's look at a paragraph to demonstrate. The lazy brown fox tripped carelessly over the ditch. Oops, there's no need for that second E in the, so we simply have to backspace to take it away. Unfortunately, when we backspace all the way back to the errant E, we will also lose the ditch. True, there is no messy erasure mark when you're done typing, but why dig any more ditches than necessary? The trick is to move the cursor over the correct letters to position it just beyond the character you want to delete. This is no trick at all, actually. Simply use your keyboard arrows to move the cursor around the text without affecting it. Each time you hit an arrow key, it will move the cursor 1 line or 1 character through the text in the direction of the arrow. This can get tedious if you need to move through several lines or words to get where you want to go. So, to speed things up, you can use the Control key together with the arrow key. Obviously, the cursor can only go as far as the text does. So let's say goodbye to our fox, and I'll fill the screen with text for our demonstration. While depressing the Control key, we'll hit the right pointing arrow key. This moves the cursor to the right a full word at a time. Likewise, when we push Control and the left pointing arrow, the cursor moves to the left one full word at a time. Find the page down key. When we press it, the cursor jumps to the very end of our page, or the beginning of the next, if there is one. In this case, we have 2 pages, so the cursor moves to the top left of the second page. Hitting the page up key moves it to the very beginning of our page. Now we're moving. The ability to move the cursor freely over your text quickly is perhaps the most fundamental key to exploiting the full power of WordPerfect. For virtually every word processing function, the location of the cursor will determine the control of the function and its effect on your text. There are numerous other ways of moving the cursor quickly through text. You may move the cursor in any of the 4 directions with the use of the Escape key. By hitting Escape, you will see n equals 8 in the lower left corner of the screen. The number 8 here represents the number of times that the next keystroke will be repeated. If you strike a letter key, that letter will be repeated 8 times. Likewise, if you are at the end of your text and hit the left pointing arrow, now the cursor will jump exactly 8 characters to the left. Remember that to your computer, a space is a character. In the same way, your Escape key followed by a right, up, or down facing arrow will move the cursor within existing text either 8 characters or 8 lines. You can change the number from 8 to a more useful number, such as 20 if you have a long way to go, by typing in the number before hitting the arrow key. The number in the bottom left corner of the screen will now appear as this new number, 20, in our example, and the cursor will jump precisely that many characters or lines in the direction indicated. As I said, the Escape key multiplies the action of a single keystroke by the number appearing in the lower left corner at the time the key is struck. This is limited to the number of characters in a line, from left to right, and the number of lines in the text, up and down. The cursor can also be moved in any of the 4 directions by using the Home key. By striking the Home key once, and then hitting the left or right pointing arrow, the cursor will move to the left or right end of the line on which it is located. By striking the Home key once and then hitting the up or down key, the cursor will move to the top or bottom of the screen on which it is located. However, if you hit your Home key twice before hitting the up or down arrow key, the cursor will move to the very beginning or the very end of your document. During the longer movements of the cursor through your document, you will see the word repositioning in the lower left corner of your screen. This shows that the program is responding to your keyboard command. Let's summarize cursor control. The cursor can be moved left or right through the text by using 1. The left or right arrow key alone, moving 1 character. 2. The left or right arrow key while the control key is down, 1 word. 3. The left or right arrow key after the Escape key has been struck, 8 characters, or the number you select before striking the arrow key. And 4. The left or right arrow key after the Home key has been struck, the beginning or end of the line of text. The cursor can be moved up or down through the text by using 1. The up or down arrow key alone, 1 line. 2. The page up or page down key, top of the last or next full page of text. 3. The up or down arrow key after the Escape key has been struck, 8 lines or the number you select before striking the arrow key. 4. The up or down arrow key after the Home key has been struck once, the top or bottom of the screen. And 5. The up or down arrow key after the Home key has been struck twice, the beginning or end of the entire document. At this point, I advise you to pause this lesson and type out a page or 2 of any text you care to play with on your own computer. Practice moving the cursor up, down, back, and forth through the document. You should try to anticipate where each command will locate the cursor so that you develop a real control over this facility.
Moving the cursor quickly might be fun, but what good does it do me?
This is the next topic. Cursor control allows you to direct everything from deletions and corrections to underlining and boldfacing or editing and reformatting entire documents. If you really can move the cursor wherever you want it, you are ready to proceed. Let us go back to our lazy brown fox. We have already seen how to delete individual characters by backspacing. The same single character deletion can be done by positioning the cursor on the character you wish to delete and pressing the delete character key. If you want to delete an entire word, locate the cursor on or immediately after the word, hold down the Control and strike the backspace key. If you want to delete an entire line, locate the cursor at the beginning of that line. Hold down the Control and strike the N key. If you want to delete only the last several words of a line, locate the cursor immediately in front of the first word you want to delete, press the Control and N keys, and the remainder of the line will be deleted. If you want to delete up to an entire page, locate the cursor at the point immediately in front of the first word of the deletion you want to make. Hit the Control and Page Down keys simultaneously. A screen message will double-check your intentions, since quite a lot of text can be erased. If you hit any key except Y, the program will ignore the command. If you hit Y, the program will erase the remainder of the page.
But what if I hit the delete key by accident and the program doesn't ask me if I'm sure or not? Do I have to retype everything in?
No, WordPerfect has the very thoughtful undo or undelete option. Let's delete a line. Now, by striking the Cancel key, a menu appears in the lower left corner of our screen, including the words Undelete, 1 Restore, and 2 Show Previous Deletion. If we enter the number 1, we will restore whatever characters or lines or last deletion erased. If we enter 0, the deletion will stand.
So I can change or correct words as many times as I want?
Yes, Pam. WordPerfect is very patient and accepts the fact that humans err and humans change their minds. So let us explore some of the other function keys available to you. The Center key does just as it says. It centers a line of text between the margins. Hit the Center key and type in your text. When you hit the Return key, the words in that line will be automatically centered. This is obviously useful in creating letterheads or titles for documents. To make that heading a little more impressive, WordPerfect allows you to put in the letters in boldface. To activate this function, simply hit the Bold key, type in the word or words you want to appear in boldface, and then hit the Bold key once more to disengage the function. As a visual reminder, the cursor position number at the bottom of the screen will appear bold when the function is operating. Likewise, your words can be underlined by striking the Underline key once before typing the words you want underlined, and again after the words to disengage the function. Again, the cursor position number will reflect this operation by appearing underlined. In order to execute all three functions, in other words, to create a centered, underlined heading in boldface, simply hit all three buttons, one at a time, before entering your text. After you have typed in the words, hit the boldface and underline keys to disengage their functions. Hitting the Return key will disengage the centering function. Oh, now let me make this point. If you have a color monitor, the bold function and underlining function will be in different colors.
Suppose I have several lines in the heading, and I want them all to be centered.
Try this. Type your lines just as though they were going to remain on the left margin of your paper. Position the cursor immediately before the first line that you want centered and hit the key marked Block. The words Block On will flash in the lower left corner. Now move the cursor down through the lines until it rests on the last line you want centered, and move the cursor to the end of that line. The entire text that you want centered will appear in bright bars of reverse video, showing you which words will be affected by the next function you choose. If you hit the Center key, the program will ask you whether you want to center the block. Hit Y for yes, and the entire block will be centered between the margins. If you hit the Bold key, a block's text is automatically put in boldface. If you hit the Underline key, an entire block is underlined. Once the function is performed, the block automatically turns off and the text appears in its normal light.
That block function can eliminate a lot of keystrokes, can't it?
You bet, and you haven't seen the half of it yet. Suppose you want to eliminate a particular paragraph. It is a long paragraph and you don't want to bother erasing it line by line. Nor do you want to erase everything else beyond it on the same page. Position the cursor at the beginning of the paragraph. Hit the Block key and see the Block On cue in the lower left corner. Move the cursor to the end of the last line of the paragraph and watch the paragraph fall under the bright bars of the block definition. Now hit the Delete Character key. The program will ask you whether you want to delete the block. If you enter Y for yes, the paragraph will be erased. Remember, if you change your mind at this point, you can still hit the Cancel key and retrieve the deleted block.
What if I don't want to erase a paragraph, but I just want to move it?
Again, turn on your block and cover the text you want to move. Next, strike the key labeled Move. The on-screen menu will provide you with many options, the first two of which are 1. Cut block and 2. Copy block. By selecting option 1, you will erase the block from the text on your screen. The computer, however, retains the memory of the block until you move the cursor to where you want the block to appear. By striking the Move key again, and this time selecting menu option 5, labeled Retrieve Text, the previously blocked and deleted text will be restored in its new location. If you had selected option number 2, Copy Block, when you first hit the Move button, the blocked paragraph would not have been deleted, but an exact copy of it could be located anywhere else in the document. The same is true whether your block covers a character, a word, a line, a paragraph, or a page, or more. By using the cursor to define the block and the function keys to control it, you can tinker with your text to your heart's delight.
I understand there's a way to check all my spelling. That's what I really need from my computer. I'm always spending time with my nose in the dictionary.
Once you have worked with the delete and editing functions made possible by using the block key, you are ready to complete your document in the exact form you would like it. Before printing that document, it is possible to have your computer check it for spelling errors and the inadvertent use of double words, such as and or but. Remove your data disk from drive B and replace it with the working disk labeled Speller. Now, hit the Spell key. This will bring up a menu allowing you to choose between checking the spelling of 1, one word, namely the word in which the cursor is resting, 2, one page, the page in which the cursor is located, or 3, the entire document. By selecting the number 3, you activate the spell checker to scan the entire document for misspellings or double words. When it finds a string of characters it does not recognize as a word, WordPerfect will highlight the word with a block and ask you whether or not to worry about it. If you enter number 1, it will accept the word without changing it, but will stop and highlight the word should it appear again. By typing number 2, you are directing it to ignore that word every time it encounters it in the document. In essence, you are telling it to accept it as a correctly spelled word. This most often needs to be done when you have used corporate or individual names. Occasionally, you'll be using an unusual word which is in fact spelled correctly but is not found in WordPerfect's dictionary. There are ways of permanently altering the dictionary to include these words, but you will have to read your manual for these instructions. Let's run a spell check now. Here is a word that is in fact misspelled. The screen displays a number of words which are similar to the character string we have typed. By typing the alphabetical label next to the word we intend to use correctly in our text, the misspelled word is automatically replaced. If you prefer to correct the spelling yourself, you can select number 4. Correct the word and hit the Enter key when done. If you still haven't spelled the word correctly, the spell checker will once again highlight it and offer you its computerized assistance. Similarly, if the spell checker encounters a double word, it will highlight the mistake and offer you the option of editing or ignoring it. Once WordPerfect has sorted through the entire document, it will tell you how many words it contains. This is your signal that the check is complete. Remove the speller disk from drive B and replace your document disk. It is important to save your document once you are done. In fact, if you are working on a very long document, it is a good idea to save your draft at various stages of completion along the way. By doing this, you prevent the loss of perhaps hours' worth of work should there be a power surge or failure, erasing the volatile memory of your PC. To save the document, hit the Save key and give the document a file name acceptable to DOS. In other words, a name of up to 8 characters with an optional extension of 3 more. Let us call our document practice.1. If we want to exit the document, we press the Exit key. We have the option of saving or losing the on-screen file. Since we have just saved practice.1, we don't need to save it again. Strike N for no when asked if you want to leave WordPerfect. We can use the file name to retrieve the document anytime we like. Retrieval is performed by striking the Retrieve key and then entering the file name. The name of the file will appear in the lower left corner of the screen to remind us which document we are working with. As a further precaution and assistance, WordPerfect can be set up to automatically back up documents from the computer's working memory at timed intervals. This way, you don't have to remember to do it, and there is always a disk copy of your work in progress. Consult your manual for details.
Now I've got a finished document that I can read on my screen anytime I want. I'm ready to print it. How do I do that?
The instructions which follow need only to be done the first time you are using your printer with the program, or if you are changing printers in the future. Once this procedure has been done, WordPerfect will be able to communicate with your printer. Now that you have saved your document on the data disk in Drive B, you can remove that disk and replace it with your working copy of the program disk labeled Printer 1. Let's clear the screen. Hit the Exit key and then the N key to show you do not want to save any files. Remember, even though we have retrieved practice.1 from disk storage to look at it, it is still permanently filed on the document disk where it can be retrieved as often as we like. When the program asks if we want to exit WordPerfect, again enter N for no. Now strike the Print key on your keyboard. The bottom of the screen will show a menu from which you must simply select the number 4 for Print Control. Once you have struck the 4 key, the screen will fill with a printer control menu. This time, select number 3 for Select Printers. When you do this, the screen will reveal yet another menu. By striking the Page Down key and then the letter B to direct your computer to the printer disk, you will reveal a long alphabetical list of printers. If you do not see your printer listed, continue to hit the Page Down key until it is shown. It is unlikely that you have a printer which WordPerfect does not list. If you do, you should consult with your dealer about the best way to install your printer with WordPerfect. Once you have found your printer, enter its number. Ours is 49. The screen will clear and present you with another menu for selecting your printer port. In most cases, you will be using a parallel port and should select the number 0. If you have a serial printer hooked to your computer, enter a 4 and refer to your manual for further instructions. After selecting the port, the program will ask you to select the type of form feed your printer will be using. If you are using continuous feed computer paper, enter number 1. If you'll be using single sheets of paper hand-fed into the printer as we are, enter number 2. Or if you have a cut sheet feeder on your printer, enter a 3. When you have finished selecting from these menus, strike the Exit key to return to Printer Control. Strike the space bar and you will be returned to a blank page. At this point, you may remove the printer disk from Drive B. Your printer information has been permanently stored on the program disk in Drive A. Now, let's print a document. Simply replace your data disk into Drive B and strike the Retrieve key. When asked for the name of the file to be retrieved, enter the name Practice.1. Our last document should come up on the screen in its finished and ready to print form. Make sure that the printer is correctly hooked up and turned on with paper in place and ready for print. Hit the Print key to call up the menu. This time, select number 1 to print the entire document. In the future, you may find it useful to print only one page at a time. This can be done by selecting number 2. When you strike the number 1, the computer sends the document through the connecting cable to your printer, which should then turn your electronic text into hard copy, that is, a permanent record on paper, ready for reproduction or distribution or whatever is your need to do with it. If you have a computer which uses hand-fed paper, your computer will beep to let you know the text has been transmitted. You will then have to hit the Print key again to call up the Print menu and select number 4 for Printer Control. Once the Printer Control menu is on your screen, simply typing the letter G for Go will activate your printer. Once the computer has sent the entire document to the printer, the message Print Queue is empty will appear in the Printer Control menu. This is your signal to exit the menu by simply striking the space bar. Your document will be returned to the screen. Now we are finished with it. We can simply strike the Exit key, N for no thank you, I don't want to save a new file, and finally Y for yes, I would like to exit WordPerfect. After a brief moment, we will once again see our old friend the DOS prompt telling us we have left the program. You may now remove both your program disk and your data disk from their respective drives. Please note, you should only remove the program disk when the DOS prompt is on the screen. Otherwise, you will ultimately confuse your computer and create unnecessary permanent files on the disk. Exactly what happens is not important so long as you remember to always exit the WordPerfect program fully and properly before removing the program disk. Your friend the DOS prompt is your signal that all is well for removing the disk and turning off your computer. This lesson has contained quite a lot of information. It is important that you feel comfortable with each step along the way, so please work with me as frequently as necessary. If you have any problems getting your printer to work with the program, please refer to your WordPerfect software manual or contact your dealer. Remember, even if it takes a little work to get the printer properly introduced to WordPerfect, once it is done, you won't have to worry or think about it again. The more you use the program and your printer, the more confidence you will gain, and the more functions and time-saving techniques you will be able to master. All it takes is a little practice. You may find that editing and formatting and tinkering with your documents can be so much fun that you never want to stop and print them. This is a temptation you must resist. Otherwise, no one will ever see how perfect your WordPerfect documents are. Have fun, experiment, and once you feel comfortable with the basic commands of WordPerfect, delve further into your software manual. And remember, there is always more you can learn from me, your video professor, in this and many other lessons. WordPerfect is a powerful word processor, and there are obviously many other functions not included here. such as insert, type over, search and replace, automatic backup for on-screen documents, changing preset margins, tabs, spacings, etc., changing a text page's format, switching two documents running simultaneously, windowing two documents viewed simultaneously, macros, revealing and working with the program's hidden codes, columns, these thesaurus, and much, much more. When you are ready to flex a bit more word processing muscle, look for my tape WordPerfect Level 2. And of course, there are lessons available for many other topics covering spreadsheets, databases, communications, and so much more. Together, we can discover how easy it is to tackle difficult jobs with the help of your personal computer.